The Rescue on Zinthar, A Stranger Beneath the Stars. The desert planet Zinthar was silent at night. Only the wind moved, carrying sharp grains of blue dust over the rocks. Reed, a human scout and engineer, walked alone under the twin moons. His small rover had broken down hours ago, and he had left it behind to search for help or shelter. His oxygen supply was low, and he didn't know if he'd survive until morning. As he walked across the cold dunes, his scanner beeped. Life. Sign. Weak. Close. Reed stopped. He looked around, but there was nothing except rocks and the remains of old war wreckage. The scanner beeped again. The signal was strong, coming from beneath a half-buried escape pod nearby. Its metal hull was cracked and scorched. Smoke rose from its engine. It looked like it had crashed recently, maybe just a few hours ago. Cautiously, Reed walked closer and pressed his ear against the pod. Inside, a soft sound. A breath. Someone was alive. He pulled out his emergency tool and cut through the hatch, carefully prying it open. The door made a loud creaking sound before falling aside. Inside the pod, curled up and half covered in debris, was a young alien woman. Her skin was pale with a silver glow. Her long white hair stuck to her face, and strange crystal armor was cracked around her shoulders. She looked up at Reed with wide, glowing eyes, full of fear. Her lips moved, and she whispered, in perfect English, "Don't hurt me." Reed held up both hands. "I'm not going to. I'm human, yes, but I'm not like the soldiers." The alien woman tried to sit up, but groaned in pain. "You're injured," Reed said. "Let me help." She hesitated, then gave a small nod. Reed pulled her from the wreck, carrying her carefully out of the pod. She was light, fragile almost, but her body was burning with fever. Whatever had hit the pod, it had nearly killed her. He brought her to a nearby cave and started a small fire with dry fusion gel. It gave off a faint blue flame. He wrapped her in a heat cloak from his bag and gave her sips of water. As she recovered, her eyes studied him closely. "You're not afraid of me," she said. Reed shrugged. "Should I be?" She gave a weak smile. "Most humans run when they see my kind or shoot. I'm not most humans." She looked into the fire, silent for a moment. "My name is Arenya." Reed blinked. "That's royal dialect. You're not just anyone, are you?" She didn't answer, but he noticed a crystal hanging around her neck, bright, humming with strange power. It wasn't just decoration, it was a royal seal. Reed had seen one before on wanted posters across the outer colonies. Arenya was not just an alien. She was a fugitive, a princess. That night, as the fire burned low, Arenya finally spoke. "I escaped from my own people," she said. "They want to control me, use me, force me into a political marriage I never wanted." Reed raised an eyebrow. "And your ship crashed?" She nodded. "They shot it down, my own guards." He leaned back against the cave wall. "So now they're searching for you, and I just found you first." She looked at him again. "That makes you a target too." Reed laughed softly. "Great, I just wanted to fix my rover. Now I'm hiding a royal alien woman in a cave." Arenya smiled again, for real this time. "I didn't expect to find a human out here, and I didn't expect him to be kind." Reed looked at her, serious. "Now, I don't know who you are in your world, but here, under this sky, you're just someone who needs help, and I don't walk away from that." Suddenly, outside, a light passed across the rocks. A scouting drone hovered nearby, searching. Arenya grabbed his arm. "If they see me, they'll kill us both." Reed grabbed his plasma knife and shut off the fire. In total silence, they hid behind a large stone inside the cave. The drone paused, scanned, and moved on. The danger passed. For now. Reed turned to her. "Looks like we're in this together," Arenya whispered. "Thank you." And in the silence, That followed, she placed her glowing crystal into his hand. For your trust. Reed held it carefully, not understanding what it meant, but feeling something deep in his chest stir. Neither of them noticed the small red light blinking above. The cave, someone was already watching and recording everything. Hunted in the dust, who is she really? The morning sun on Zinthar was harsh and orange, rising over the dunes like a burning eye. Inside the small desert cave, Reed woke first. The heat was already building outside, and the air was thin. Beside the small rock wall, Arenya still slept, wrapped in the heat cloak. Her breathing was better now. The deep cut on her side had stopped bleeding. Reed had cleaned and wrapped it using supplies from his kit, but he kept thinking about the crystal she gave him. It pulsed with light even now, resting in his palm. Why give him something so valuable? He stepped outside and scanned the horizon. His scanner beeped. 3 signals, moving fast. Not animals. Reed's stomach dropped. They were being hunted. Back in the cave, Arenya opened her eyes as he stepped in. We've got company, Reed said. 3 life signs. Not far. Arenya sat up quickly. They found me. Already? I think they followed your pod's crash trail. She stood slowly, still in pain. We have to move. Reed grabbed his pack. There's a mining outpost 10 clicks west. If we stay hidden and take the canyon path, we can reach it. Arenya nodded, but looked at him strangely. Why are you doing this, human? Reed looked at her seriously. Because I hate people who hunt the weak. She stared at him for a long second, then said softly, You don't even know who I am. Not really, Reed said. But I know how you make me feel. Like, protecting you matters. Arenya's face turned slightly red. Even if it gets you killed? Reed smirked. Well, let's try not to die today. They left the cave just before the sun reached full height. The sand was sharp. The rocks were hot. But the canyon walls gave them some shade. As they moved, Arenya's voice was soft. I was supposed to marry someone powerful, cold. He wanted the throne, not me. Reed asked, Why did you run? She looked at him. Because I wanted a choice. They walked in silence for a while. Then she said, When I saw you, when you pulled me out of that wreck, I felt something I've never felt before. Reed glanced at her. And what was that? She smiled quietly. Hope. But before Reed could say anything more, a loud blast echoed through the canyon. The drones had found them. Reed grabbed Arenya's hand and pulled her behind a tall rock. 2 small black drones hovered above the canyon, scanning with red lasers. One of them locked on. Target identified. Subject, Arenya. Human companion. Detected. Terminate both. Reed growled. Always the friendly welcome. He tossed a flash grenade into the sky. Boom! The blast blinded the drones, giving them a few seconds to run. He and Arenya dashed toward a cave tunnel ahead, just wide enough to squeeze through. Inside, the light dimmed and the sound of the drones faded. They were safe. For now. In the cave's shadows, Arenya pressed her back against the wall, breathing hard. That was close. Reed looked at her. Next time you're carrying the backpack. She laughed for the first time. Then slowly her face grew serious. She touched her crystal again. You still don't know the full truth. Reed raised an eyebrow. Then tell me. Arenya looked up at him, glowing eyes calm. I wasn't just a princess, she said. I was chosen as future empress, the symbol of peace between the 3 major empires. If I marry someone from another empire, the treaty remains. And if you don't? Reed asked. Then war. Reed whistled. So your personal love? Life is a galactic time bomb. She looked straight at him. And now, I've made things worse. Reed frowned. How? She took a deep breath. Because last night, I made a decision. What decision? Her voice shook, but only slightly. I looked at you. A human. And I realized something. He waited. Then she said it. I wish you could be my husband. But deep underground a message was sent through encrypted channels. She confessed. Prepare to intercept them at the mining outpost. Kill the human first. The queen in disguise. A truth revealed. The path through the canyons was narrow, with jagged rocks on both sides and wind howling through the gaps. Reed and Arenya moved fast, their boots crunching across the blue dust. They didn't talk much. Both were out of breath and both knew the enemy was closing in. They had to reach the old mining outpost before sunset. Reed glanced sideways at her. So, you want to marry me? Arenya looked forward, her face calm, but a small smile pulled at the corner of her mouth. I didn't say I would. I said I wish I could. Reed chuckled. That's one wish I never expected from a royal alien. She replied softly. I never expected to say it to a human. They arrived at the outpost just as the sky turned violet. It was an old base made of stone and rusted metal, half buried in the ground. No one lived there now, just broken machines and old supply crates. Inside, they found a working door control and sealed themselves in. Reed dropped his bag and sat down, breathing heavily. Arenya stood still, looking around the quiet chamber. Her hand rested on her crystal necklace. Reed asked, You all right? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked over to a metal panel on the wall. She tapped it 3 times, then held her crystal against a hidden slot. Click. A hidden door opened. Reed stood up quickly. What is this? Arenya stepped through the door and motioned him to follow. Inside was a royal safe room. Clean, powered, glowing with soft white lights. The walls were filled with technology, weapons, and even a small throne carved with glowing alien letters. Reed stared. This isn't a mining outpost, he said. This is a royal hideout. Arenya nodded. It was built long ago for emergency use. Only the royal bloodline can open it. She turned to him slowly. You asked who I really am. You deserve the full truth. Reed felt his chest tighten. Go on. Arenya took a deep breath. I'm not just a runaway princess, she said. I'm the next in line to the galactic throne. If I had stayed, I would have been crowned queen of the unified worlds in less than 1 solar cycle. Reed's jaw tightened. So you ran from all that? I ran from becoming a weapon, she said. The council doesn't want a ruler. They want a puppet. Someone to marry their favorite general. Someone who follows orders. Reed stepped closer. And what do you want? She looked up at him with glowing eyes. I want to choose my life. I want to choose who I love. There was silence between them. Then Reed asked carefully, And you're saying, that person could be me? She nodded slowly. Yes. Suddenly, an alarm beeped. Reed ran to the screen. A red alert flashed. Tracker detected. Hostile signal approaching. He looked at her. Did anyone else know about this place? She looked terrified. Only one, my royal bodyguard. Reed's eyes narrowed. Then he betrayed you, Arenya whispered. We have to run. But it was too late. A loud boom rocked the walls. Explosions blasted outside. The door shook. Through the scanner, Reed saw them. Elite royal hunters, wearing golden armor and moving like shadows. Leading them was a tall figure with a red cape and a golden spear, Commander Vorak, Arenya's ex-fiancé. He spoke into the comm. Surrender, Arenya, or we take the human's head. Reed stared at the screen. You didn't tell me your ex was a bloodthirsty maniac, Arenya whispered. He's worse. If he captures us, he'll erase everything, including us. Reed grabbed 2 stun rifles from the wall and tossed one to her. Then we don't give him that chance. She took it without hesitation. For the first time, she didn't look like a royal. She looked like a fighter, like a queen without a crown. As the hunters broke through the outer door, Commander Voharak's voice echoed again. I'll give you One last chance, Arenya. Choose the throne, or die beside your human. I wish you could be my husband, human. The confession. The old royal hideout shook with every blast. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. Outside the walls, Commander Vorak's soldiers were getting closer, fast and armed. Reed stood near the sealed door, holding his rifle tight. His hands were steady, but his heart raced. Arenya checked the energy cell on her weapon. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of fire. You sure about this? Reed asked. She looked at him. I made my choice the moment you saved me. You could still run. I'm tired of running. Another explosion hit. The door groaned. Metal cracked. Reed moved beside her. We'll hold them off as long as we can. After that, we go together, she said. Suddenly a voice echoed through the speaker on the wall. Commander Vorak. Princess Arenya, you were chosen to rule, not to shame your bloodline. Come out now and the human dies quickly. Refuse, and I will make him beg. Reed frowned. Friendly guy. Arenya stepped forward and pressed the calm button. Her voice was strong. I'm not your property, Vorak, and I'm not your queen. There was silence on the line. Then he hissed, You've been poisoned by this human. He'll burn with you. She turned to Reed. I meant what I said last night. I wish you could be my husband. Reed blinked. You're serious. She nodded. You showed me who I really am. Not a tool, not a crown. Just a woman who wants to be free. And I want that freedom. With you. Reed took a slow breath. Never thought I'd fall in love on a desert rock being chased by space assassins, he said. But here I am. She smiled. So, yes? He grinned. Yes. They kissed quickly, brief, desperate, real. And then the door blew open. Smoke filled the hideout. Vorak's soldiers stormed in, red visors, golden blades. They moved like shadows, fast and deadly. Reed and Arenya didn't wait. They opened fire. Stun blasts shot across the room, knocking 2 soldiers down. Arenya moved with grace, ducking and firing from behind cover. Reed backed her up, protecting her side. But they were outnumbered. Too many. Vorak entered, untouched. His long red cape moved like fire. He raised his spear and pointed it at Reed. Step, away from her, human. Reed raised his gun. Not a chance. Vorak smirked. You're brave. I'll enjoy watching you die. He threw the spear. Reed ducked, barely. The spear cut his shoulder. Arenya screamed, firing 3 quick blasts. 2 hit Vorak's chest armor, cracking it. He fell back, stunned. Reed was bleeding. Arenya dropped to his side. Stay with me. I'm fine, he groaned. Just give me a second. The soldiers surrounded them. It looked hopeless. Then, a deep horn sounded across the canyon. Everyone froze. A new ship landed outside. Royal Guards. Real ones. The High Chancellor stepped through the door, surrounded by elite protectors. He looked at Vorak, lying on the ground. Enough. Later, under protection, Arenya and Reed sat on a medical bed inside the royal shuttle. The Chancellor stood before them. You are reckless, Princess, he said, but you exposed a traitor. Commander Vorak will answer for his crimes. He turned to Reed. And you are the first human to ever be accepted into royal service. You've earned more than our thanks. Reed said nothing. He just looked at Arenya. She held his hand tightly. I don't want a throne, she whispered. I just want to live a life where I'm not afraid, with you. Reed smiled softly. Then let's build that life. Together. But far beyond Zinthar, on a dark moon orbiting a dead planet, a voice said, If the Council won't stop the human, I will. Begin the final mission. Rebel attack. The price of love. The stars above the royal transport ship shimmered as it flew quietly across deep space. Inside, Reed and Arenya sat together, watching the distant lights. They were no longer hiding in caves or running through deserts. For the first time in days, things felt peaceful. Reed leaned back in his seat. So what happens now? You go back to your throne? Arenya looked at him and shook her head. I told the council I wouldn't rule, not like before. If I lead, it must be by choice. Not because I was born into it. Reed smirked. That sounds like a queen who knows what she wants. Arenya smiled softly. I want peace. I want freedom. And I want you. They sat in silence, her head resting on his shoulder, until a sharp alarm interrupted the moment. Red lights flashed. Warning. Incoming vessel. Not registered. Weapons locked. Reed jumped to his feet. They found us again? A guard ran into the room. Unknown rebel ship approaching at high speed. Shields up. All crew prepare for impact. Arenya's face hardened. It's him, the one who sent the message. He's coming to finish what Vorak couldn't. Outside, a black warship dropped from hyperspace. Its hull was covered in strange markings, no flags, no lights. Inside the enemy ship, a masked figure stood at the front, tall, armored in red and gray, eyes burning behind the visor. She betrayed the bloodline. The human poisoned her mind, and them both. Missiles launched. The royal ship rocked. Violently, Reed grabbed Arenya's hand. To the escape pods, now! They ran through the corridor as explosions shook the floor beneath them. Behind them, royal guards fought back, but the enemy broke through fast. Elite rebels in stolen armor began swarming the halls. As Reed and Arenya reached the pod chamber, one last explosion tore through the wall. The masked enemy stepped through, aiming a plasma blade. Reed turned to shield her, but the man spoke. You're not supposed to exist. Arenya raised her gun, and yet here we are. She fired. The blast hit the rebel leader's shoulder, knocking him back. Reed slammed the pod door shut. He and Arenya launched into space just as the chamber exploded behind them. Inside the pod, the alarms died down. They were floating, alone and safe, and for now. Reed breathed hard. You saved me back there. She looked at him, her face pale but proud. You've saved me since the day we met. He took her hand. Where do we go from here? Arenya pointed to a small glowing beacon on the control panel. Coordinates, a planet where we can hide. A neutral moon, no rulers, no rebels. Reed nodded. Sounds perfect. Hours later, they landed on a quiet world covered in tall silver trees. The skies were blue. The wind was warm. Reed stepped out and looked around. No soldiers, no councils, just peace. Arenya joined him, her hand in his. This could be home, she said. He looked at her and smiled. Then let's build something real. No crowns, no lies, just us. But in the sky above, a dark speck appeared. The rebel ship had followed. One final confrontation remained. As the sun set behind the silver forest, Arenya whispered, If we survive this, then I want to marry you. And Reed said, Then we'd better survive. The Royal Council. Reed must speak. The Royal Palace on Virelia, capital planet of the Allied systems, was built from white stone and shining crystal. It stood high above the clouds, surrounded by towers that touched the sky. Inside its great hall, hundreds of alien nobles, commanders, and council leaders sat in silence. At the center stood a platform. On it, Reed, alone, unarmed, surrounded by royal guards. He looked small compared to the giants watching him. Alien eyes stared, cold and curious. Some whispered in strange languages. Others just frowned, but no one spoke, until the High Chancellor raised his hand. The human is here, the Chancellor said. Let us see if his words are as dangerous as his presence. At the side of the hall, Arenya stood behind a tall, glass divider. She was not allowed to speak, not yet. Her face was calm, but her hands shook. She hated being forced to watch, but this was the law. Reed had to prove his intentions on his own. The Chancellor stood. Human Reed, you are accused of stealing a royal heir, breaking a peace treaty, and bringing war to our door. How do you plead? Reed took a breath. Not guilty. The Chancellor raised an eyebrow. Then explain. Reed stepped forward. His voice echoed in the hall. I didn't steal anyone. I didn't bring war. I found someone in trouble. Someone who was bleeding and scared. And I helped her. Murmurs rose among the nobles. She is the Princess of Velmora, a councilwoman shouted. She belongs to the throne. Reed replied. She's also a person, a woman, a soul with thoughts and feelings. Not a prize. A few gasped. The Chancellor motioned for silence. And yet, the Chancellor said, she fled with you. You kissed her. She confessed love. How can we trust you? Reed looked directly at the council. Because I never wanted her power. I never asked for her crown. I only stayed because she asked me to. I didn't choose her for her name. I chose her for who she is. He looked at Arenya through the glass. Her eyes were filled with tears. Then the Chancellor surprised everyone. Let the princess speak. Gasps echoed. Arenya stepped forward, standing beside Reed. She placed her hand over his heart. I gave him my trust, she said. I gave him my truth. And he never once broke it. She turned to the council. Some of you would rather kill him than believe a human could be honorable. But I would rather lose my title than lose him. Reed gently touched her hand. You won't lose anything. The Chancellor looked at them both. If we allow this union, it changes everything. Bloodlines, power, history. A council member shouted, she was promised to another. Arenya raised her voice. That man tried to kill us. He led a secret attack. His plan failed because... This human stopped him. Reed stepped forward. If you still want to punish me, fine. But know this. If love between a human and alien is a crime, then your future has already failed. The room went quiet. The council fell into discussion. Minutes passed. Then the Chancellor stood. This council has spoken. Reed held his breath. You, human Reed, are not guilty. Arenya smiled. The room filled with noise, some angry, some stunned, some relieved. The Chancellor raised a hand. One more thing. He looked directly at Arenya. Your bond with this man is now official. But know this. If it breaks, so does the trust we offer your race. Arenya replied. Then we will never break it. Later in the royal garden, Reed and Arenya walked alone under the stars. She stopped beside a tree and turned to him. You did it. No, he said softly. We did. She took his hand. I meant what I said before, about marrying you. He smiled. And I meant what I said, then we'd better survive. But far above the capital, in a hidden warship cloaked in shadows, a voice whispered through static. If the council cannot stop them, we will. Begin the final strike. A bond beyond stars, love that changes a galaxy. The stars above Virelia were calm, shining over the capital like diamonds on black velvet, but peace would not last. High above the clouds, a massive warship broke through the silence. It had no symbols, no call sign, just darkness, steel, and destruction. Inside, masked rebels prepared to strike. At the center, a shadowed commander said, The princess chose a human. The council accepted it. That is weakness. We end this tonight. On the ground, inside the Guo. Royal garden. Reed and Arenya stood together under a glowing tree. She wore a silver sash of peace gifted by the council. He still wore his old scout jacket. Ripped, patched, worn with honor. I never thought this life was possible, she whispered. A life with choice. With you. Reed smiled, brushing her hair back. You made it real. Then a light flashed. In the sky, he looked up. His smile disappeared. Ship incoming. Big one. Arenya's face hardened. They're here. In seconds, alarms blared through the city. Explosions rocked the royal towers. The rebel warship opened fire. Heavy plasma, raining from above. Civilians ran for shelter. The Royal Guard scrambled into defensive positions. The final strike had begun. Reed grabbed Arenya's hand and ran toward the palace bunker. "We can't outrun a warship," he said. "No," Arenya replied. "We fight." They reached the command center, where council members and guards were holding the line. Panic had started, but when Arenya entered the room, everyone stood still. "I am not just a princess," she said. "I am your leader, and I will not let fear decide our future." Reed stepped beside her. "And I won't let her stand alone." The battle outside grew worse. Dropships landed. Rebel soldiers poured into the streets. They aimed not just to kill, but to erase the love between human and alien. Inside the palace, Arenya activated an ancient defense system, a forgotten weapon only the royal bloodline could control. A glowing sphere rose from the floor. "It's dangerous," she warned. "We only get one shot." Reed loaded his weapon. "Then let's make it count." Together, they stepped into the open courtyard. The rebels were already there, guns raised. The shadowed commander stepped forward. "You polluted the royal bloodline," he hissed. "You'll die with your pet human." Arenya stood tall. "He's not a pet. He's my choice. My future." The commander raised his blade. "Then die together." He charged. Reed fired first. Blast to the chest. Arenya activated. The sphere. It glowed brighter than the sun. The ground shook. Energy ripped through the rebel ranks, disabling every weapon and ship in range. The commander screamed as he was pulled into the storm and disappeared. Silence returned. Smoke rose into the air. The war was over. Later, in the main hall, the council stood before the people. The High Chancellor spoke with pride. "Today, two people, one human, one royal, showed us what unity means. Not just in words, but in action." He turned to Reed and Arenya. "You did not only save each other, you saved us all." He raised his hand. "Do we agree to honor their bond?" The crowd shouted. "We do." Arenya turned to Reed. "This galaxy has rules," she said. "But sometimes, love writes better ones." Reed smiled. "Then let's write the rest of the story together." Under the twin suns of a peaceful world, a new home was built, not of stone or politics, but of heart. Reed and Arenya stood hand in hand before friends, leaders, and citizens from 100 worlds. "I never thought I'd fall in love with a human," Arenya said. "And I never thought I'd marry a queen," Reed replied. Then she whispered, "I wish you could be my husband." He kissed her hand. "You already are." Moral: a love that changed a galaxy.